The Gold Cloaks and the other Lannister soldiers run around the city, killing all folk associated with House Stark. Sansa is saved by her septa telling her to run away, and Arya is saved by Syrio Forel, who fights off 5 dudes with a friggin' wooden sword. Also, maybe he dies off screen, but like a lot of people think that he didn't. Sansa, while running away, runs directly into the most powerful of the Lannister servants. And then Arya, oh.
What you say? That you only meant well.
Varys visits Ned in the dungeon and questions why he decided to stand up to the Lannisters, which is complete bullshit because this whole thing is on Littlefinger. Ned feels real safe about being in this dungeon right now and thinks that the Lannisters won't kill him because Cat still has Tyrion captive. Nope. Up north in Castle Black, the boys recover some cadavers that they found while searching for the last ranger party. The corpses suspiciously have no scent. The Lord Commander then gets a letter from King's Landing and calls Jon in to read it to him. The letter both includes Robert's death and Ned's charge of treason, which implies that they didn't bother to send a raven just for the king dying. Back south, Sansa is in front of Cersei and the council, who are rightfully enshadowed, and she begs for forgiveness and expresses her disconnect from her family. Cersei intends to use Sansa to bait Robb down to King's Landing, sort of promising to keep Ned alive if both Sansa and Robb comply. Presumably, like 6 days later, the letter that Sansa wrote arrives in Winterfell, and Robb is furious that his father is in chains. He rallies the bannermen of House Stark, intent to march on King's Landing to retrieve his family. Over in the Vale, Cat also gets a letter with updates on the main plot, and begs her sister for assistance from Knights from the Vale. Lysa says nah. Still kind of Vale adjacent, Tyrion and Bronn walk aimlessly through the woods, discussing the terms and conditions of their friendship, that being Tyrion's fat stack and Bronn's extreme skill at killing people. After a little nap, the two are approached by the aforementioned Season 1 exclusive Tree Vikings. Tyrion uses his immense family wealth and power once again to negotiate for his life, in exchange for the entire Vale, which I guess he can promise, or maybe he just thinks they're really stupid, I don't know. Back at Castle Black, Sir Alistair? Is it Alistair? I thought it was Alistair until just now. Antagonizes Jon about his father's betrayal, and Jon tries and fails to murder him. He gets put on timeout. While respecting his timeout, his direwolf ghost starts acting up and eventually leads him to the Lord Commander's chambers. Inside, one of those dead guys from earlier attacks him. He's a zombie thing. Jon stabs the zombie and he does the 80s horror movie eye thing, and then Jon burns him. Across the sea in Essos, Daenerys is faced with the fact that the horse barbarians she's been living with seem to have a certain surprising interest in raping and pillaging for personal gain. She decides to save all the women that the men are currently holding captive, and one of the barbarian reports this incident to Drogo. Drogo sides with Dany on this matter, surprise surprise, and the rider challenges Drogo's command by holding a blade to his chest. Drogo walks into it because he is a genetic freak who is not normal, and then he kills the guy by tearing out his throat with the tongue intact, which I'm pretty sure is not biologically accurate. Dany is concerned over Drogo's very small wound, and one of the women she saved offers to use her shaman healing to help, which is just cleaning the wound and then sewing it shut. In Winterfell, Robb has a feast with his bannermen. It gets a little heated when the head of House Umber doesn't get to lead the vanguard, and then he gets bit by a dog and decides that he doesn't want to lead the vanguard. Robb is sick. Afterwards, Bran is awoken by Robb to announce that he's leaving to march now. Bran wants to come, but his brother tells him there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. Why? I don't know. Some weird superstition, maybe? There's a bunch of theories. Anyway, the next day, Bran goes to the Godswood to pray for the safety of his family. The captive wildling comes to pray alongside him and offers some culturally different perspective on their shared gods. Back at Castle Black, they burn the corpses of the zombies, and Sam announces that these corpses were touched by White Walkers, and that's how they became zombies. He knows all this from a book that also has a prophecy that eventually the White Walkers are going to come back. And oh boy, do I mean eventually. Catelyn makes it to Robb, who is now encamped and discussing battle plans. Cat gets up to date with the letter from Sansa and worries that Arya is dead because she wasn't mentioned in it. Tyrion and his Vikings land at a Lannister encampment. How they located that is beyond me. Tywin updates his son on the current state of the war, and Tyrion updates his father that he needs to arm a bunch of savages. Tywin, genius that he is, immediately recruits the savages to his forces. At the Stark encampment, Robb's men bring him a Lannister spy who was counting their numbers. Robb decides to let the scout go and commands him to pass a threat to Tywin. The rest of the War Council doesn't agree with the idea, but the Starks are honorable to a fault. In the Red Keep, there's some ceremony stuff going on, including replacing Ned with Tywin as Hand of the King, and Cersei also decides to relieve the commander of the Kingsguard, Barristan Selmy, so that she can give Jaime his position instead. That's a lot of Lannisters in power, huh? I wonder if anyone finds that, kind of suspicious. After everyone's been given their new positions, Sansa decides to make a plea for her father's life. She insists that he should be punished for treason by being sent to the Wall. Joffrey agrees, contingent on Ned announcing in front of a crowd that he was highly drugged on milk of the poppy and everything he said was a lie. And Sansa agrees to those terms. Hey everybody, thanks for watching these episodes as they come out. I know there was a delay last week and you got the same video re-uploaded. There was some copyright issues and I'm trying to get ahead of it by uploading a week in advance. One important update with this episode is that I now have a Discord server and a Patreon. And the Discord is not Patreon exclusive, but you will get like a special role depending on your Patreon tier. If you want to be one episode ahead on this series, you can subscribe right now at the $6 tier and you will get to see episode 9 of Quick Watch, which is Baelor, a highly fan favorite episode. Consider checking that out. It's not needed, but I would appreciate any support that you can give me. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.